Okay. I like all of it. I'm just not sure if I sell my colleagues on it.
Yeah. It's tough when you have that group of students, that are so cognitively delayed that
Well, and not only that, but in my room, I could have someone who's functioning on a
kindergarten level.
all the way to a ninth grade level.
Yeah. And it's how do you plan for that gate?
And then, of course, we've got reading issues on top of that. So every reading tags.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Luckily, all of these, the ebooks can be read out loud to the students. So that's except for the other languages. It does read the Spanish. It does read the Spanish.
My students all learn how to use workarounds with Google Translate. They'll take a picture of it on their phones
And translate it
and then have it orally translated because usually their oral language scores are
higher than their. Yep.
Never sounds right though, does it?
No. Yeah. The Google. Okay.
Okay, we're going to get started. Welcome. I will let our McGraw-Hill reps introduce themselves and then turn it over to them.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for your time. We realize we're after lunch, so we'll try and be as dynamic and as exciting as we can be. First of all, my name is Mike Turpin, and this is Craig Wilmore. We're the McGraw-Hill team here in Utah. We are both local. I actually grew up in this district. I graduated from Alta High School, and my first teaching job was actually here at Hillcrest back in last century. So it didn't look like this. It was a long time ago. Craig Wilmore is originally from Logan, but lives in Utah County now, and he's worked with Alpine School District for a lot of years, as well as the state, writing math curriculum. He's going to be the one doing the majority of the speaking. We will be giving you a link so that you can go on to all the digital resources for every grade and play around with the student and a teacher experience. We do have some print materials floating around. You're welcome to keep any of those if you'd like to take them with you. If there's something else you'd like to see, just let us know after, and we can ship stuff to you as well. I know it's summer, so we can even ship it to your house if that's easiest for you. But we have about 50 minutes planned, so that builds us some time for questions, and feel free to raise your hand if something comes up. We'll leave some time at the end as well. So, thanks, sir.
All right. And towards the end, I'm going to take us online or give you the opportunity with a couple of different demo logins. So you can go in, you can see the Utah-specific integrated math that's there. But know that the Reveal Math is a K-12 comprehensive core curriculum. It's all green on Ed Reports. What we're looking at over here instead of the AGA is going to be the integrated version, which is what all of Utah looks at. We do also have a pre-calculus, and we do have an elementary statistics as options as those higher level areas that you might be looking at. The materials include a 2-volume teacher edition, so you've got volume 1, volume 2, and then you have a hardbound student book. And so there is a student book. You'll notice that with the Utah specific, there's always going to be an image on the front. We either have a skier or we have Delicate Arch because it is a customized program to meet the state of Utah as we go through. So here you see Delicate Arch on program 3. The teacher's edition or the student edition is going to have all the information that students are going to need. They do have a digital online interactive version of this program. So a student can actually go online in their interactive student book. They can write answers. They can manipulate the tools. There will be virtual manipulatives that are embedded within here. So if they're creating angles or working with geometric shapes, they can go online and they can actually do that. In the margins of the book, and sometimes it's easier just to hold up the book and show you, when you get to the margins, there's going to be key things in here such as talk about it. We want students to turn and talk to their partners about what they might be seeing, and then think about it, and then write about it. And so we want them to have these opportunities where they would be writing their information. You'll notice also that they've got examples that are in here. For every example a student has in their student book, their hardbound book, they have an extra example online. So these examples are online, but they're also in the student book. But online you have an extra example if you felt like some of the students struggled with this particular example, now you've got an additional way that you can go in and look at that. We are fully integrated with Canvas, and so you can assign anything through Canvas. That way you're able to get your grades linked over to Skyward. Any of the assessments that we do within the Reveal Math program that you push out through Canvas, the assessments will come back into the Reveal Math program also for data collecting purposes. So you can still collect your grades, all your things through Skyward, but we're going to also be pulling back the data so that we can collect data that's important for you as far as differentiation opportunities and assignable things that you can do. The program is very unique in that it will match the screen that the student might be using. So whether they're using a Chromebook or they're using a tablet or they're using a phone, we have a downloadable app. It's the Read Anywhere app where they can download their student book on their phone or their tablet, and then they can access it while offline. They don't have to be online to be able to do that. When they do sync up online, it does sync, and the teacher can see anything that a student has written in their interactive book. As we go in, we're going to be looking at 4 key things. Championing a math positive environment with mathematics, implementing a flexible lesson design. This is more created for you to have a variety of different ways to approach teaching the lessons within the Reveal Math program. Tailored to meet student needs, and this is those differentiation opportunities. What do we have? And then understanding student learning through the different types of assessments that you will find within here. So beginning with the very first part, know that this is a brand new program written from the ground up. Okay, we just decided we've had enough of like the older versions of the programs. We needed something new, so we brought in some new blood and some very math knowledgeable people. So those of you who are familiar with Kathy Seeley, she was a former NCTM president. We have Linda Gojak, who is a former NCSM, National Council of Supervisors of Mathematics president, and a variety of others who have helped contribute. These are just a few of the authors of the Reveal Math team. We want to start off each module with an Ignite Curiosity. These Ignites are found online. These are things that you would probably project on your screen, but they're meant to produce an atmosphere of play and let's have a little bit of fun with the content that we're going to be learning during the year. This one just happens to be on the floor, designing. These were created by Dr. Raj Shah to promote play, to promote some fun, and make excitement back into the math classroom. Every lesson is going to start off with a launch, and that launch is typically going to start off with some kind of an image. That image is what the students are going to be looking at, having a conversation around that. And then here we're use supplementary angles to find values in this particular one. Again, you can see within the material what the students are doing. Think about it, and then they're going to talk about it with a partner. These were promoted to promote that collaborative conversation, that math discourse by Kathy Seeley. And then as part of the thing, most of you are familiar with Alex, right? Most of you have been using Alex before. Okay, I'll talk just a little bit about that later on, but that is a bundled package with the Reveal Math because we own both of the products, the Reveal Math and the Alex. Okay, the flexible lesson design, moving along. Okay, at the beginning of every lesson inside a module, you're going to find lesson goals. These can be verbalized in an I can statement format. In other words, by the end of this lesson of graphing quadratic functions, students will graph quadratic functions. So they can say, I can do this. You will then also see in here your pacing guide up at the top. The lessons are built around a 45-minute lesson, a 90-minute lesson, or a 135-minute lesson block. So if you do daily math for 45 or 50 minutes, you just match the pacing guide up here because we'll tell you how many 90-minute or how many 45-minute lesson days it is. Or if you're a block schedule where you have 85 or 90 minutes every other day, then you can match that up with here. Know that there is ample time. You will be able to make it through the content within the program by the year's end. You will then find your focus. This is what your key domains are. And in here, we're working with our functions domain in this particular one, but we're also talking about the mathematical practice and process standards. So within every lesson, you're going to be touching on content standards, mathematical practice and process standards, in other words, the how we learn the mathematics. Next, you'll see the coherence, and this is that vertical alignment component. What did students learn previously? What am I teaching now? And where will they use this next? And so this just kind of gives you that idea of, okay, this is what they should come to me with. This is what I'm going to teach, and this is what I'm going to send them having learned, and they're going to be able to use it there. Then the final thing we bring in is the rigor, and this is that conceptual understanding, procedural skill and fluency, and application into real-world settings. You'll have this conceptual bridge to help identify which things you need to focus a little bit more on in this lesson to get the students ready for the end of each module. Also, you'll see all of your differentiation options down here in the bottom left-hand corner of each lesson within. We do approaching level with the orange, on level with the blue, green is the beyond level, and then the purple is English language learners. There's also a language development handbook to help with those students where you have multi-language learners within your buildings. The flow of the lessons is fairly simple: launch, explore and develop, assess, practice and reflect, and then differentiate. So we're going to go through and look at the launch portion. In a student edition, this is actually the teacher's edition, we're taking a look. All of the things on the left-hand and the right-hand sides of the margins are slides that are part of your ready-made digital presentation. So you already have these pieces put together. They are customizable. You can turn them on or off based on what your desire is for those, but they are projectable on your screens. As we launch the lesson, you're going to come up with that image. So before we saw an image of a gate, this is the image that goes along with this integrated math here, where we're talking about salaries of baseball players. And we have a graph going in here. We then move into the explore and develop. So the launch is just to get the students' mindset into the game, so to speak, of where we're going. Now as we go in, we have a explore. The explore is more of that interactive ability. It's that what I would call conceptual understanding, where we're probably going to post some kind of a virtual manipulative, have the students come either to the board and work with that, or log on to their devices and work with that virtual manipulative to have some experience with what we're doing. Maybe it's this angle measure. So for example, in this one, this is just a Camtasia of what it is. Students can go in, they can move things around to start getting a feel for what happens when they change the y-intercept, or if they change the numbers in here. They click on the next example and it's going to pull up an opportunity for them to write. They pull up the next example and it's going to bring in additional manipulatives. So know that there is a lot of opportunity online for students to do this, but there's also all of this is found in the student book. The flexibility comes in the idea that teachers can do a traditional teacher model lesson where I'm going to put up an example. I'm going to walk through the problem-solving process, whether we're working with algorithms or whether we're trying to solve for some other way. That's more of the traditional approach that we would do, but you can also break it down into small groups where you have students working in table groups and they're doing an activity. And maybe you have some group working on example 1, another group example 2, another group is working on example 3, and then they get to stand up and share out what they've learned from these examples. You also have the opportunity to go individual. So students can open up their digital devices, they can go into their interactive student book, and they can fill out and do the work on their own by themselves. Particularly those students that feel like they would prefer doing it by themselves than working with a partner. As we move in, then you have your Learn. The Learn is now going to be that opportunity for students to write either on a piece of paper or go in their digital component here and work with that digital component. Again, for every example that you see in your student book, they're going to have opportunity that they can go in, write their answers down in a composition notebook or a math notebook that they have, or they can go in online and do the work online. One of the nice things about having an online component is, as a teacher, if I see students, I'm wandering around the class and I see a student that happens to be doing a particularly good job, I can ask that student if I can share their screen on my screen. And I can go into the digital space, my digital space, I can emulate that student, and then the student's screen is up here on the projection. That student can then explain what they're doing for the whole class. Then I can stop emulating that student and pull up another student and show the class what that student is doing. So there's a lot of opportunity for sharing out information through that digital platform and or just print. And again, as we do one or two of these examples, we want to stop and check to make sure the students are still with me. So we have a quick little test. That little test or that little check is going to be found in the student book, but it is also available as an assignable online assessment just to check. And it's going to give instant feedback based on how the students did on that. So here you see an example. Then you see the check. Here's the check that goes along with this. Typically going to be just one question that we're asking the students, so it's not taking a huge amount of time for them to go in and answer, but it now gives instant feedback to the student and provides data for me as the teacher. All of our pages within the student book digitally are read out loud. And so students can actually listen to the text being read out loud. All of our assessments have the option, if it is needed, to have the test read out loud to the students. You can even print the test for those who might be visually impaired to print it out in a larger sized font so that then they have access to it and can see it. For every example, as I mentioned before, there are extra examples online that are very similar in nature, giving you ample opportunity for additional options to differentiate as needed along the way. You'll find anywhere between 2 and 8 examples in any one lesson. The more examples, the longer the lesson is. It can go from just a 45-minute lesson to a 135-minute lesson with 8 examples in it. You'll see the apply. And once we get towards the end of a lesson, we want to apply the knowledge that we have been learning as we've worked through these examples, these learns. And now we're going to apply that skill in here. Every question up here in the student book is now available as a blade. They click open the blade and they can write in their answers now. So this is where, yeah, we can't write, or we don't want our students writing in this hardbound book because they're pretty expensive to replace, but I can now go online digitally and have the students answer these things in their online component. Next, we go into the assess. And so as every lesson is going to have an exit ticket, this is a simple, short assessment on what we've been learning in this particular lesson. Most of these questions are technology enhanced. So they're multiple choice, multi-select, drag and drop, bucket. I'm trying to think of what else. Equation entry. And then there will be essay questions that are in there, but you can also go in and edit any assessment, any practice page. So if there's some questions in there you want to remove, you can remove those. You can also add questions from a test bank of question or a practice bank of questions. You can also write your own questions and then There's even the opportunity for an audio response from students. So if you want students to explain a certain concept and how they solve it, you can put an audio response in there. You would then have to go in and listen to every one of the students' recordings, but it is an option that is available, and maybe it's a good option for a few of your students that might need that because they can explain it better than they can write about it. All right, that brings us into the final portion here, which is our practice and reflect. There is ample practice inside the books. You're going to find more practice available than what the students are capable of doing. And so we've actually differentiated that practice. And we'll say, for those students who are doing super well with this, you may want to do questions 2 through 34, the evens, and then do 42, 43, 44. Students who are struggling, maybe do 1 through 33, do the odds, and then do these questions. So we're providing some differentiation options in there, but you also have a variety of additional, with all of the lessons, there's going to be a personal tutor. The personal tutors come in English and the personal tutors come in Spanish. It is a teacher doing a whiteboard mini lesson on the concept. So this is Mr. Hardesty.
In our next problem, we'll solve using the centroid theorem. In triangle WXY, Q is the centroid, and the length of YQ equals 2x minus 15, and the length of QA equals 4. Find x. In our triangle, Q is the centroid. We know by the centroid theorem that this segment, YQ, is 2/3 of the whole thing. That is, 2/3 of YQ will be set equal to segment QA.
Now I stopped it there, but there might be 2 or 3 of these videos that are in a lesson depending on how many examples you have. What this is powerful for is that now your students, if they happen to be absent because they were sick or there was a field trip or they on vacation, they can now look at their lesson, they can go in and watch these personal tutors and have a somewhat of an idea of what it is that they're supposed to be doing in there, because the different teachers that are doing these whiteboard mini lessons go through and explain some of the different examples that you will be encountering in the material.
This is Mr. Hardesty.
Sorry. So they do come,
We'll solve.
we already heard you. Okay, so they do come in English and they do come in Spanish. All right. You will also see that students can actually go in. One of the unique features of some of the questions in there is that students, they can actually write however poorly that they do there, and it will automatically convert it over into Word. They can actually then go in and edit if they got it wrong, or if the computer misread it, they can go in and correct that. But you can see ample amounts of practice found within there. You will also see in the differentiation that you're going to have these review items with the backwards curling circle. These are opportunities to go back and review something that leads into the learning that we're doing here. These are online assignable activities, but you will also see with every example that you have differentiated verbiage that you can use for probing questions. So in this particular one, find average rate of change from an equation, I have an approaching level of questioning, I have an on level of questioning, and then I have a beyond level of questioning that goes along with this. So I can differentiate. We all know that, our classes, we all have different levels of students in each different class. And so this is a way that we can differentiate within the small groups or even within a whole class that we have. You have additional options for practice. As I mentioned, you will not see quite the amount of practice that's available as you do here. So you have extra practice, you have the regular practice. This practice is what's found inside the student book. Then you have practice item bank that's available, reason and apply, reinforce, and then spiral reviews. Because we always want to go back, make sure students haven't forgotten what material it is we have covered already. You have extensions online, so opportunities for students to try and go a little bit further with the same type of concept as we go in. Now, we're all familiar with ALEKS, and so I'm going to speed through this one, but the Reveal Math is your core content. This is what's meeting or matching the Utah standards. But we also know that we've got some students who are still filled with a lot of holes, gaping holes, because your ninth graders were probably in 6th grade or 5th grade when COVID hit, and they weren't able to get online every single day with their teacher to get the training or for the amount of time that they needed because they were competing for computers at home. A lot of those students have gaping holes. That's where ALEKS comes in. That personalized adaptive online program bundled with Reveal is significantly reduced in price. And so it's just part of the bundle. It's easier to do it as a bundled component. You're familiar with the pie chart that's here. Both the teacher and the student gets a pie chart. You are able to create additional worksheets, and what makes this now even more powerful is that ALEKS is aligned to the Reveal Math courses. So it's now aligned with us so that as you are going through all the modules within your level, the computer in ALEKS is identifying where the students need to be, and it's trying to push them to get to that specific spot to get them ready. Don't need to go through all this. You're all familiar with this. So, teaching, the teaching reports. Valuable because we find in here you get your time on topic reports, you get your IEP reports from the students. And the demo account that I'm going to be giving you is going to actually allow you to go in and look at the different algebras, or the different ALEKSs at the different grade levels so you can play around in those areas. You can create worksheets within ALEKS, and those worksheets you can push out through Canvas. The only problem is those worksheets do not feed back into the McGraw-Hill Reveal Math data collection. So the practice worksheets don't feed back in. We understand our students through assessments, and so at the beginning of every module, you're going to have an Are You Ready assessment that you can provide for your students just to see do they have the primary basic skills to get started in this module as we're jumping in. It is available in the student book as well as in a digital format. At the end of every unit, you're going to have summative assessments. You have a wide variety of assessments. So you have 3 on-level assessments, you have 1 below-level assessment, and then you have 1 beyond-level assessments, so that you have a variety of options to pick and choose from as you are jumping in and going about assessing your students. The platform over here for the student dashboard. And then part of the Reveal Math is what we call our McGraw-Hill Plus. So with McGraw-Hill Plus, it's going to, I'm going to show, this is going to just play. I'm going to actually go online and show it live, and I'm going to invite you to go online if you want to live and see this with me as we go through. But do all of you do NWEA, the MAPS growth, or is that just up through 8th grade? No. All the way up? So the NWEA MAPS growth feeds into this McGraw-Hill Plus. So all that data that you are doing with those students can now go to a purpose that's going to provide additional skills and additional opportunities in here. So here is one of the usernames and passwords. If you want to take a picture of that so that you have access. This is going to get you into our national version. The URL is my.mheducation.com. The username is just National Plus, all one word. The password is case sensitive. So please make sure no spaces, capitals where it's capital, lowercase where it's a lowercase, numbers where it's a number. And then the next username and password is not there. Okay, I guess I missed it. All right, so let's go online live. And if you are joining me, this is what you should see. You're seeing something like this, those of you that got in? If you mistype the password 3 times, you'll be locked out for 5 minutes. It'll lock everybody out. Are y'all locked out? Did anybody get in? Okay. If you're in, you're in. You're safe. They can't lock you out now. All right. I'm just going to drop down here to the integrated. You can see the covers of integrated. So here's integrated 3. Here's integrated 1 with the skier over there. Where's my integrated 2? I can't even see it right now. Purple left. Oh, right there. Yeah, duh. Skier. Yeah. Oh, that's a volleyball player. So the skier over here, and then we have our integrated 3. I've been doing the presentation based on integrated 3, so I'm going to drop down to integrated 1 over here. Just click in there. This, when I click open that, I don't want the Chrome update, thank you very much. It brings me to my landing page, or what we call dashboard. So this is my home page. You are going to see in here your interactive student edition, volume 1, volume 2. Your Teacher's Edition, Volume 1, Teacher Edition, Volume 2, your Student Edition, that's just a single copy because that's like your hardbound copy. The interactive is different because it has the virtual manipulatives embedded within it, whereas the Student Edition is an ebook. It's just the book in a digital format. Okay? I'm going to open up the Interactive Student Edition, Volume 1. Click. And now I have no idea what page it's going to take me to, but looks like today's goals right there. So I can click over here and get into, here's one where we have an example, 5 order of operations. We've got our information right there. One of the powerful things here, how many of you have students whose native language is not English and not Spanish? Okay? You can actually take this, if you go up here to the top right-hand corner, there's the middle box right there that's a box with an arrow pointing up towards the right. When I click that, it pops it out into a new tab or a new window. Now, it makes it even a little bit bigger here. You can now go in, what is a language that you have in your buildings that is not Spanish or not English? Farsi. I've not had Farsi. Let's see if Farsi is a Google language up here. So let's go and choose another language, and that's towards the beginning of the alphabet. So let's drop down here and see Farsi. I don't see Farsi. Russian, definitely. So as I drop down here to M and O P Q, yeah, I can do my alphabet. Russian, right there, Russian. So click Russian, and then I click the translate button. It's going to translate the page into that native language. It does this also for your Teacher's Edition. So for those of you who are thinking of moving to Russia to become math teachers over there, and you want to practice your language, here's how you practice your Duolingo or your Babbel. Okay? That's not on these 3 dots. It's on my Chrome. I'm in Chrome. And so I just went into Chrome and did the Google Translate. I'm going to move it back. Now it will only translate that page. If I turn the page, you have to click and translate that page also. But it is a way that, if you have students who their native language is another language, this is a great scaffold to get them understanding the mathematics as you're working with them to get them speaking English more and more and more. Okay. Because I opened that up, I'm going to go back here to my regular page, my dashboard, click the little X up there, and I'm back to my home screen. Now, one of the things that is unique about here, you can see all of these are my ebook options, additional resources. You have your Desmos over here. You've got your Alex clickable tour right there, your vocabulary. You also have eTools and your eTool user guide. eTools as in virtual manipulatives. When you come up here to the top, you can see I've got some assignments that I've handed out to my students that are due coming up. This is for Tuesday, June 3rd. If I click to the next page, that's still available. It will only show what is available during that time frame up here. All right, from here to navigate around in the system, we go up to Browse This Course. Under Browse This Course, one of the first things you'll see is News and Updates, and then you have Program Overview, Welcome to Integrated Math, and then your course materials. Those are key places where you're going to find all the tools you need to go in. Your modules follow down underneath. So if I click on, let's say, Relations and Functions. When I open that up, you'll see the title of the unit on top and then the lessons underneath it. When I go to the title and I click Open, this is going to bring up all of the tools for the beginning and end of this unit. So I have my lesson information, which will tell me the goals for this module, the suggested pacing, the standards, the vertical alignment, the vocabulary, and then what's your essential question. So all of that's under lesson information. Your launch, this module, you'll have your Ignite, you'll have your module pretest, and then we always start with a video that ties the learning into a real world situation. So when you click on that video and watch the video, it's going to be helping the students understand where they would use the math they're learning in this module in a real world setting. Close that blade right there of the launch. You have your review and assess. So here's my math probes. That's a formative assessment that we would do. Here is your module vocabulary test, your module review. Dynamic module practice is test prep. So it's like getting towards the end of the year, you're getting towards a benchmark assessment and you want some test prep. The dynamic module practice is adaptive. So as students do that, it's going to adapt to their learning. Then you have your module vocabulary activity, your performance tasks. And then we come down here and you have your Form A assessments. Anything with the bars in it are digital assessments that most of the questions will be auto-graded. So when you've got 6 sessions of integrated 1, it's going to help you by correcting almost all of those pages for you so that you don't have to go in and do that. If you see the piece of paper, that's the same test but in MS Word, which means you can go in and you can open it up and you can edit just that if you want to edit and print that off for your students. Then you have Form A2. That's the second on level. Then Form A3, that's the next one. Then we come down and you have Forms B and C. Form B is below level and Form C is beyond level assessments at the end of every module. Okay? So those are where you find your assessments, is at the beginning of a module. You have additional resources, including your student edition of your relations, the student material there, student material, your Learn Smart, and then you also have cultural connections. So this one happens to be Navajo rug weaving. And then at the very bottom, you have teacher added resources. You have the ability as a teacher to add resources not only from your computer, but web links. So if I have a web link that I want to go to, all I do is type in the name of that. I type in the URL or I copy and paste it from TeacherTube, GoogleTube, or YouTube. Paste that in here, and then that becomes part of my presentation that I would be doing that day. Okay, so back up here. Now to go into a lesson. If you go into any lesson, this is a unique feature of the Reveal Math program. All of the data that we're collecting, whether it's from ALEX, NWEA MAPS growth test, or the Reveal Math assessments, feed into the system over here into my plus. But what that does is each and every lesson in Reveal Math Integrated has this little button down here that says Personalized Learning powered by McGraw-Hill Plus. The more data we collect on our students, the more accurate this personalized learning is, and this is what it's doing. Lesson 1, representing relations. When I click on that personalized learning, it's going to identify what students are unlikely to be successful with this lesson, what students are likely to be successful, and then the students that have not done anything with this particular standard. Okay? Then it's going to provide at point of use assignable resources based on the missing skill that students have. So I've got these two students need this. Take another look. Find the domain and range given in a table. And then these two students need representing relations extra practice. If I were to change to a different lesson, so if I go in, maybe let's do expressions and go into this one and look at that same thing, I should have, don't have any data in that one. That was not very good. Nothing. Well, let's choose a different course then. Let's try integrated 3, see if that's any better. Okay, go in, we'll choose polynomials, lesson, and we'll come down here to my personalized learning powered by McGraw-Hill. So, not very good information here. I don't have a lot of data in this one. If I choose, let me just choose algebra, just to give you an example. Linear equations. What it's going to do is it collects that data, and then you click that personalized learning, and it's going to identify all the students, the names of them, inconclusive, likely to be successful, very likely to be successful. Then it's going to provide you at point of use assignable resources to fill in the gaps that those students are missing. So the more data we get from MAPS growth, the more data we get from ALEX, the more data we get from the Reveal Math assessments, whether it's the beginning of the module, the diagnostic, or whether it's the summative assessments or the quizzes or the exit tickets, we're going to get that information that's added in here. Now, that's for this particular idea up here. When I go down to the McGraw-Hill Plus button on the left-hand side and click, it's going to bring up, and I probably need to do this in my integrated section. So let's do integrated 2. And I'm going to drop down into the McGraw-Hill Plus here. It brings up integrated 2 right here, and these are the domains of integrated 2 around the outside. So if I go up and I click on this one, okay, that's going to provide me the title of this over here. When I click on these are the standards that feed into that. So these are the standards that belong to that overarching domain. When I click on a specific standard, it drills down to the skills that feed into that standard. So now anything that is orange, I'm a little concerned about because it means they're inconclusive. They're not able to do that. Anything in gray, they haven't been assessed on that yet. I'm looking to get students over here in the greens and the blues. That's where I want them. But just like we saw before, I've got 2 students down here and 2 students over here. I click on my personalized learning powered by McGraw-Hill, and it's going to provide assignable resources that I can give my students from this point of view. All right? So just know that that personalized learning, the more data we have in there, the more these wheels are going to be colored in with the different levels with assignable resources to provide our students. So I can look at a lesson for tomorrow, see that I've got these students that need this skill. I can send that to those students to do at home in preparation for tomorrow. Now on the left-hand side, you have a little button called Course. That word course is auto memory. It takes me to the last lesson that I was on. So if you have multiple grades, I can actually change one of my courses. So let's say you have 5 courses of Integrated 2. I can go in and change whatever I want. I can add additional resources. I can turn things on and off within. So if I go in the Explore and Develop, notice these dark blue buttons. That means that's part of my presentation. If I want this one to be part of my presentation, I simply click it and it's going to turn dark blue and it's now part of my digital presentation. Up under the launch, I have a downloadable PowerPoint presentation. But if I go over to the right-hand side of the 3 dots, I can add that to my Google Drive, which means it will turn into Google Slides for those of you that prefer Google Slides over Microsoft PowerPoint. This avoids that spinning wheel of death while it's buffering. You have a PowerPoint, which are static images now. I caution you on translating that over into Google Slides because of the technicality of the equations in high school math. Some of those do not translate over in Google Slides. So it's best to either open up the Microsoft PowerPoint, take a screenshot, and then paste that into your Google Slides to get the accuracy within that. But after I've gone in and I've done one of my classes, I just come up here at the top, click, and I sync that presentation with all the rest of my classes that I'm going to be teaching on this Integrated 2, and it's going to modify all of them to match what I'm doing here. So it syncs them up. That way I'm only making changes once and then syncing up the presentations. The presentation itself is right here. I can present by just clicking. It opens up in a digital all screen, full screen. And it's going to bring up all of the slides that, why did it start off with this PowerPoint slide? Didn't need the PowerPoint slide. Here. Launch the lesson, medians and altitudes of triangles. And so it's going to bring up this launch the lesson, usually starting with an image of some kind. Oh, this one's going to be a video. It's a silent video. This is now going to tie into our lesson that we do. I then navigate to the next piece in this, today's standards. And it will pull up my standards. There's the content standards. Here's the mathematical practice standards. Okay, so you've got a digital presentation for each and every lesson in here. As far as your assessments, over on the left-hand side, you've got your assessments down towards the bottom. When you click that open, it's going to bring up a list. Any assessment that you edit or modify in any way, shape, or form becomes yours for the life of the adoption. So you don't have to redo it year after year. You can also share that with any teacher at your building. The district, however, can create a benchmark assessment and send it out to all 12th grade teachers, or can send it out to all 10th grade teachers to have them do. You can only share within your building, but the district can share across the district. You've got ACT prep in here. You have copies received, so if you share something with a teacher, they get it in their copies received. But now we've got our practice and then we've got our test bank. So if I go into Module 1 and I click Module 1, these are all the assessments that I have available for me. Here's my Form A1, A2, A3, Module Review, Module Vocabulary. To modify any, I go over to the right-hand side, click on the 3 vertical dots, and I can student preview, I can edit, I can print, or I can export metadata, which is exporting the test with the standards attached to them. So this is where your assessments will be found right there. We've already seen the McGraw-Hill Plus from there. You've got reports. So in the reports section, any assessments or practice pages that I have assigned will show up here. So I've got these. Now I can go in, I can click on it. Nobody's worked on this one yet, so it's 0. So No student data because no students have done any of the work yet on that particular one. This is a demo account, so that's part of it. I can also select once I have an activity, I can click on it and do an item analysis. And what that does, it's going to highlight which questions the majority of the students may have missed. That way I can go in and I can check and see, I can do a follow-up with my students. Back into the course. With that lesson information, the additional resources is where my differentiation is. So the differentiation, I have my language handbook, I have my review items, I have my extension items. So all of your pieces are assignable over here on the right-hand side. It's easy to assign by just clicking. Pulls up the title, the start date, the due date. I can change those. The point value system, any instructions you want. And then I just click assign. And that then goes to my students. I can even assign this to small groups of students or individual students as I see the need here. Let's cancel out of that one. Now, one last thing before we finish out here. Under the roster, you'll have all the names of your students. A feature that we do offer here is that you can go over onto a student, click the laying down 3 dots and do emulate the student. What this does, it gives me a warning box saying anything you do on this student's page will affect their score. I click OK, I know that. Go in and it's now going to take me into that actual student's page. This is what a student's page in Integrated 2 will look like. Okay? They have their interactive student book, their integrated student edition, the hardbound version, and then their the Spanish version, the Spanish book in there. Then they'll have their Desmos over here, their glossary, and then their e-toolkit. They can go in and look at their grades. This will tell them how they've done on all of their grades. So far, this student is doing poorly. 0 out of 31, 0 out of 31, not good. But they then have the course up here where as they go in, we click down here. Let's say we're in angles and polygons. We click in there. It opens it up. I expand it all. These are all the things students now have access to. So students have all of these items already available to them. They can go in, do the work digitally, and they have their personal tutors down here at the bottom. If I click on that personal tutor in English, it's typically going to bring up some blades. You click on the blade of the piece that you want. So here's a blade for this particular one. This one is in find the interior angle, sum of a polygon. Click, and this is going to be that personal tutor walking through finding the interior angle of a polygon. Click on the next one, that's Mrs. Dawson. Click on the next one down here. Now I've got this particular one, we've got Mr. Hardesty. So you've got a variety of different tutors based on the examples that we saw within the material in the mathematics here. Okay. That's kind of a lot to take in there, isn't it? Okay. Mike's going to talk about this next piece, but I just want to, we've talked about championing that math positive attitude, getting students involved in this, and this does match the state standards for the state of Utah with the integrated math. We have that flexible lesson design, so you can teach it as the whole teacher modeling and going down through to a small group to independent individual. Lots of different types of assessments in here, from your initial diagnostic to your formative assessments to your summative assessments, and then differentiation opportunities to meet the needs of all of your students. Mike, take it away.
Thank you, Craig. We want to make sure we leave some time for your questions here, but as far as professional development goes, we meet with the district and put together a customized plan. We prefer to do these in person before school begins. We like to do a full day or half day training, usually in August before school begins, and follow up 6 to 8 weeks in the school year. Craig and I have both been working with the district implementing elementary literacy for the past 3 years. He was just there a couple weeks ago, again, doing follow-up training. It's not something that we charge for, and it's something that's continuous and ongoing. We also have quite a few options for digital training and training that you can do on your own time and pace online. But besides that, I think we've covered just about everything. I know it's a lot of information to go through. We are available locally if you have any questions. What questions do you have now before we let everyone go?
Yes.
The assessments are all editable,
Yes.
and then you could even take like from A, B, and C and combine.
Yeah, you can even start from scratch and pick and pull things from a practice page or pull things from an assessment, and you can take from all the 5 end of module assessments, or from the beginning of the module assessment or the vocabulary. You can make a whatever, and that will be yours for the life of the adoption. It will always be under my assessments.
Okay, could that be digitized as well?
You do it in the digital platform.
Oh, you do.
You do it in the digital platform, so then it is digital.
Could that then be printed?
It can then be printed, yes.
Okay.
Are all the students seeing the same prompts in terms of like numbers in the questions?
Typically, yes. Now, there is an option when you go in and assign an assessment. If you've got students that are sitting close to each other, you can randomize the assessment questions.
So that just changes the order of the
It just changes the order of the questions. Yeah, yeah.
Is there any lockdown on that?
Now, with the dynamic module practice that I showed you, that does change the questions. So the dynamic module practice, that will change and alter the questions that students would see. Now, your question was?
Is there any lockdown on the tests?
Yes. So the test, there is a start date and a start time. So you can set it to the actual minute that you want that test to be available for students, and then lock it down after that, and then they have no access to it after that.
Will it lock it from them opening other websites while they're on that?
No, because they can always click on open up a new tab and go in and look at a new tab, but that's kind of, I wish we had the ability to block them from going into other pages or checking their phone down under the desk here.
That
Yeah.
If you're using a resource you created in previous years and shared with other teachers, can it be edited?
Yes.
Tell me with like, I know you said like with the online textbook, you said you could like adjust it to meet the standards. We're like looking at adopting new standards in the next couple of years. So like as that happens, the textbook will also adjust when our standards adjust. Is that correct?
So what we're doing is we're creating a customized, we've got the customized Utah integrated version, but we know the new standards are ready to be released in this month. The month of June, I think, is when they're supposed to be released.
They're supposed to be.
Yeah, it's
Supposed to be released for the 90-day public review.
public review. Once it has been ratified and it becomes state law, that's what we are. Then Mike automatically sends that off to our integration team and our team that attaches the standards or identifies the standards and how they match up with the program. And if we need to add in additional lessons, we do those in a digital format on the online platform. But we are creating a customized Reveal Math just for the state of Utah, because we know that almost every single district within the state is up for adoption within the next 3 years for mathematics, kindergarten through 12th grade, and so we want to make sure that we are ready with that, and so we will have a customized math program. And I know you're looking at piloting this next year, 2026. Or adoption for 2026? Okay, adoption for 2026. Hopefully by then we will have a customized, but at least we'll have a correlation by then of the new standards. Other questions? Yes?
When you're talking about you can assign different parts for like assignments and such, were you saying like you can assign this person you do questions 1 through 30 on, and then this person you do questions 20 through 30?
Yeah, you would just tell them to do those, but some students are going to do the others. Or you can go in and actually customize and delete those questions out that you don't want them to do.
Is that because of by student though? Like, does that make sense?
You can do it by student. It would typically be done by group.
Okay.
And you can in the student roster, I can categorize my students in different groups, and so I can create a group that might be a below level. I can create a group that might be my on level, a group that's beyond level, and then when I go into assign, I assign it to the on level or I assign it to the beyond level, and it just goes to those students.
So part of the core is also the best practice standards, and I saw that you like mentioned them, but how are they implemented like in the lessons themselves?
At the beginning of every lesson, you're going to have the content standards and the mathematical practice and process standards. Okay. And so as you're going through, it's going to be embedded within the content as you're teaching it. So you'll be doing those mathematical practice standards embedded within.
Does the lesson like explicitly address like that, or is it just like
It's not going to make a call out saying this is mathematical practice number 6.4. But it will say at the very beginning which one you are focusing on.
It will say in the correlation, though.
Yeah, in the correlation it will. Yes?
So as far as the assignments go, I noticed we've used some different platforms. Like if a question is multi-part, can they submit each part separately, or does it make you answer all the parts before you can hit submit?
It makes them answer all parts before they submit that question.
Is there any chance that could change? Because it was really nice when they can hit submit on part A and like see if they're right or not before they continue, because sometimes you use all the parts as you continue on.
Right. Yeah. At this moment that I am aware of, we don't have that. You would have to go in and edit and then just copy the original question and then part B and then the original question and then do a question part C.
Okay. Then if it's a multi-part question, can you change the points per question? Or is
Yes.
everything- okay.
Yes, you can change the point at any time.
We'll send that feedback up, though.
Yep.
It could change.
Yep. All right, I think we're out of time because the next group is ready to come in, but thank you so much.